Are you still waiting for a recruiter to ride in and save your job search? You know, the recruiter that's going to ride in on the white horse and sweep you off your feet and onto the horse and carry you off to your dream job. I get it. Maybe you've been told to polish your resume, update your LinkedIn, and wait. But here's the truth: recruiters don't work for job seekers, they work for companies. And if you're not a perfect fit for the job they're trying to fill, you're not getting a call. So, in case you don't know, I'm Wendy Taylor. For over 20 years, I've been helping professionals land roles they love. I've designed talent strategy at more than a couple dozen venture-backed startups of all stages. I've led teams of 400 plus. I've scaled a fintech startup from employee 23 to employee 500. I've trained the hiring teams, the hiring managers, built the interview scorecards, trained the recruiters, and conducted over 12,000 interviews. I know what works, and I know what holds people back. If you're here live, let us know in the comments. And if you're on the replay, let me know that you made it. Now, most people think recruiters are just job matchmakers, or they think that they can hire a recruiter. I can't tell you how many times people said, I just need to hire a recruiter. But recruiters fill roles for companies, not shop jobs to candidates. That's why ghosting happens and silence feels personal. And actually, most of what's called ghosting isn't even ghosting. So, quick check. Have you ever thought a recruiter would just find you a job? If you're feeling a little seen right now, let me know. Because the more people who figure this out, the less stress you're going to have in your job search. There are two types of recruiters. There are the internal ones, and then there are the agency ones. There's really actually kind of sort of two others. So I'm going to talk about them very briefly. There's executive search firms. And so at very senior levels, we're not talking director and VP, but very senior levels, that's what they specialize in. That's a whole other ballgame. If you're one of my senior executive types, we can have a conversation about that. And then there are consultative recruiters. So that's actually what I did. So the firm that I worked for sent me out to venture-backed tech startups to help them figure out their whole holistic talent strategy. Who do we need at this round of funding? Who will we need when we get to the next round of funding? Everything from the leadership team to the engineering team, the sales team, and all the other roles in the company. And then, okay, Wendy's going to do all the hard stuff. We need a recruiter, early career recruiter, to be trained by Wendy to do these things. That's not a real common situation. So the two normal things that most of you are dealing with are internal recruiters who work for a company, at a company, they're an internal employee, and then agency recruiters who are working with multiple clients. And those agencies, some of them do a model where the recruiters and the salespeople are different people, and some do a model where the same person does the sales and the recruiting. Very, very different ball games with an agency. So to keep it simple, so you don't get overwhelmed, internal, they're an employee of the company. Agency, they work for a firm that has multiple clients. They search either way for exact fits, not potential. If you've ever been told you were great but not quite right, that's the box checking in action. Give me a yes in the comments, whether you're here live or on replay, so that I know that you got it. And you've been there and you've been there, done that, and heard that you were great, but you were not quite right. You've been box checked. Okay. So how do you work with recruiters effectively? What can you do? Be crystal clear on your strengths and your job targets. That's actually what I do in my fastest path intensive. We do several sessions where we get dialed super, super crystal clear on where your strengths are, what your job targets are, what the next job needs to move you towards. And then the next thing that you need to do is make your LinkedIn magnetically relevant. I talk about make your LinkedIn profile magnetic. And that's the other piece to my fastest path intensive, where we go ahead and once we know what your strengths are, once we know what your targets are, then and only then can we upgrade your LinkedIn, make it magnetically relevant. And that's super important. And then the third thing you need to do to work with recruiters effectively is to be easy to advocate for. Have a story driven resume with clear communication on the results you deliver. So that's the third piece of my fastest path intensive. Super, super, super valuable. We've got to dial that in so that the resume tells the stories that the recruiters need to hear so they know whether you're a fit for their hiring manager if they're internal, for their client if they're an agency. The fourth thing that you need to do to work with recruiters effectively is build network relationships that actually open doors. That this is actually not so much a how to work with recruiters effectively. This is a how do you get a job effectively. And so using the brilliance of LinkedIn, as much as it's changed, it still has that core feature that opens doors. It visually maps who the people you know, and it provides a method for opening doors. And that's a huge part of what we do in the second stage of working with me when you're in my coaching program. And so we're meeting 3 times a week, and we're really focused on your application strategy and your network relationships and how to leverage them to open doors. If you have that opens doors to decision makers, let me know in the comments. And if you're still building one of those or you'd like to have one of those, let me know that. I want to see those comments. Now, I'm a firm believer in taking charge. It's kind of what I call what I do. I kind of sort of been taking charge since I was a little kid. I was like always that way. If I join a group, I'm usually put in charge of it in about 5 seconds. So, I went to a networking event for a professional organization last month. And at the end of the meeting, when they were announcing the next meeting, the dude in charge of the group actually invited me to speak at the next meeting, but he didn't ask me. He just informed the group in front of me that I was going to be the speaker at the next meeting. I said, great. He's like, phew. Okay. So I am all about taking charge. But what I'm about for my clients is taking charge of their job search and taking charge of their career. So many people don't take charge. And when they don't take charge, their job search is long, it's demoralizing, it's depressing, it is anxiety inducing, it is marriage straining. Here's what works. Direct outreach to people who can open doors, making it easy for them to help you, not asking them to do your job search for you and not asking them to hand you a job. Clear, value-driven LinkedIn profiles, proactive networking that builds trust. My clients get interviews before jobs even post using this strategy over and over and over again. If you are ready to lead your search instead of waiting by the phone, having it on that ringer on all the time, drop a taking charge for me. I want to know if you are ready to be in charge. Okay. So today, what we talked about is why recruiters can't and won't rescue your job search, how to build recruiter free network relationships the right way, The exact strategy my clients use to land interviews without relying on job boards. And I will say one last thing, just happened last week, and I just saw something on LinkedIn about this minutes ago. If you're talking to a company or a recruiter does reach out to you about a job and you are not a fit, they're not a fit for that, for your career. And my client had two super senior round interviews, and then one that was kind of in the same mix at the same time. And I was like, well, either we need a game plan for how you're going to not blow the final rounds and still do a good job on this. But before we do that game plan, would you even take the offer with that third company if they made it? And he said, no, I wouldn't. I said, great. Then you're going to politely let them know that you're in final rounds with a couple other companies and that you really don't think this is the right fit for you. And then you're going to make an introduction of someone who you think would be a good fit for them. And he had been laid off recently. A bunch of people at his company had been laid off recently. He had somebody come to mind immediately. He was able to make that intro. That is the best thing you can do for your relationship with recruiters. Because remember, recruiters change jobs too. So you never know when that recruiter will have a job for which you are the perfect person. And think about what he was doing for the other person who got laid off. Amazing. Now, this guy's a good guy. He's referred a bunch of the people that he worked with to work with me, and they're working with me, and they are taking charge of their job searches. They are on a faster path to getting the right next job for them. So just wanted to throw that out there about making intros to recruiters. It is huge. Now, I talked a little bit about my program as we talked about this today. If you want to go deeper, I've got the Taking Charge Networking Guide to help you take your next step. Drop me a white horse in the comments. I'll send it to you. But more importantly, if this session hit home and you're ready for real strategy, real help, real wisdom, if you're really ready to start taking charge, get on that fastest path to the next right fitting job for you, I offer complimentary clarity calls to help you figure out your next steps and see if coaching in my world is right for you. We'll explore one-to-one. We'll explore actually in our one-to-one call how my coaching program works, how we do that deep dive intensive, then the ongoing support, then the nailing of the interviews. Drop me a clarity. You can send me a DM about it. You can drop it in the comments. I'll make sure you get a spot on my calendar. And I look forward to talking with you.